Oh, I didn't know you beat the game. I thought you did. Okay.
Anyway, welcome to Nerd is the Word. My name is Jackson Incompetent DiCarlo.
And my name's Ben Anderson.
Ben Confident.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident.
This is the talk show by Nerds for the Go News online radio station, 89.5 WDBL. We are just here to do whatever, talk about movies we like, video games we've seen. I said that backwards. Like I said, it's been a very long day, so please forgive me again. Anyway, Ben, what is your favorite DC movie, excluding Shazam?
Oh, like of the modern,
of all
like
time,
it had
of
to
all
be.
time.
Oh, of
any
all,
DC movie.
I actually really like the original Superman. The Superman.
Oh yeah, I heard that's pretty decent.
No, like all those are pretty good. Except for Superman 4, that one's a little. That's a little rocky.
I liked The Dark Knight.
Those are also very
classic with the Heath Ledger as the Joker.
Batman 89. That's a pretty good one.
You want to hear a movie fun fact?
What's movie fun fact?
Everyone was actually very shocked when the Joker put that pencil through the guy's eye in the movie because he actually did that trick on set, and everyone was amazed that he did that, and that's why the reactions are so genuine. It's a fun fact for you.
A fun fact. Thank you.
True. You can look that up. So we're going to talk about some DC movie today, a specific one that we saw over the weekend, Shazam.
Yes.
So, in case you didn't know, Shazam is the original Captain Marvel.
The better Captain Marvel.
Honestly.
The one with personality.
So we'll get into this, but basically Shazam has been a long-standing DC character. He's kind of a mix of Wonder Woman and Superman because he's kind of got like the powers of like the gods. Like he's got the wisdom of Solomon, the power of Zeus.
Yeah.
Like kind of all that stuff. And he's kind of like basically he's just a kid with superpowers that got him from like a wizard who like bestowed upon him his power by saying like if you say the wizard's name, which is Shazam, you'll become this champion of time basically. And when he first came out, Shazam was originally known as Captain Marvel because like as like marvelous dude. Yeah. Because Shazam isn't the character's name, it's the name of the wizard that he got the powers from. So it would be, I guess, like they didn't want him to inherit the name. They wanted him to be like his own superhero that like says Shazam to get his power. And then as time went along, it kind of because of obviously Marvel Comics, they had to rename him. Like in the movie, he's never officially referred to as Captain Marvel. He doesn't really get a superhero name because they didn't get to that far basically. But they had to change him like to officially be known as Shazam. In the comics. So that's why we say like he's the original Captain Marvel. He is. It's interesting. Mm-hmm. I mean, to be fair, the comic's always been played up as a joke. Yeah, it's a very
self-aware comic.
Definitely, and the movie shows that too. So we'll get into it. Shazam was announced a few years ago, kind of, just like as in the like kind of like how they did the roadmap. Yeah, I see what you're saying. There's Shazam, and there's going to be Black Adam with The Rock, and it's going to be great. And
Aquaman was on there, Wonder Woman.
Yeah, all of the recent movies were on there, but Shazam was one of them, which I wasn't like expecting.
It's probably the weirdest one on there.
Yeah,
even with like Black Adam, people like Black Adam enough to think that they would
get kind of like say this is the Guardians of the Galaxy of the DC. Like, kind of like the off-niche character that is kind of brought into the spotlight.
It's hard to say. Like, in the movies, yes. But in the comics, Guardians were not liked as much as Shazam is in DC Comics.
I get that.
Like, Shazam is at least in some of the animated movies.
Yeah, he's in a few of the, like, Justice League TV shows. And he was in Injustice, the original one at least. And then he just wasn't in 2, which made me very upset.
Oh, yeah.
But, Black Adam was so cool. Anyway, he was kind of announced, and I wasn't expecting it to be good because, it's DC has been doing nothing but dropping the ball. Then the trailer came out, and it was kind of...
I thought it was going to at least be different.
Fine, but it was very clear from the trailer that they weren't going for their standard dark DC movie with all this very serious tone and this dark palette, and it would like they showed Shazam flossing, which made me very upset. But anyway, I was just like, that's the final nail in the coffin. There's no way like this can possibly end well. And it came out 4 days ago. We took a road trip to Jamestown.
Yes.
To go see it.
It was not playing in our local theater. And it was kind of a shame. So I was like, 30-minute drive. Let's go.
Yeah, we ended up stopping at the mall there. And
you want to call it a mall?
Kind of.
It's not.
Just like a big hallway with a bunch of empty stores.
I mean, to be fair, we went in pretty late, so some of them were already closed.
Yeah. And we looked around in like FYE and stuff for a while. We went to the others Gamers Haven. It was a fun road trip, and then we saw the movie. And how would you say about the movie in like a word or two? Like, what would you?
Like if I only had one word.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain it in one word. I would go for the obvious and say Shazam, but
nice.
But I would say surprising.
Yeah.
In a good positive way.
I would kind of say it's the underdog.
Okay, I could see that.
I mean, it was strange because we sat down and the movie started with this classic like here's the backstory of a character, and it's very dark and you don't know what's happening or like why this ties into the story. And I was like, all right, so here's the standard DC formula of like beat to death the backstory and then keep flashing back to that. But that was I was like right after that, like the beginning, I had the worst pacing for me, I guess, because I was just kind of like, here it is again, blah 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 blah.
I mean,
but like as it went on, I feel like I kind of warmed.
You mean
up to
the first backstory or the second part of it?
Both. Like when they were establishing the initial character, like they established the villain first.
I think,
and then they start establishing Billy Batson, who becomes Shazam.
The issue is you're doing an origin movie. How many ways can you tell that story?
Yeah, but like I'm not upset like that they did it, but like my first impression was, oh, here's Bruce Wayne's parents getting shot, here's Krypton blowing up.
Yeah, but I almost argue that's DC Comics in a nutshell, especially with their main.
It felt like the overdone. Here's the tragic backstory, but like as it happened, like it's not like
it. At most, it was like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's
my
hard
issue
to
wasn't like so much like that they had to show it. It was just kind of the way it was done. Because
I don't mind the first one. The first one was pretty good, I think. Or no, not the villain. The Heroes.
The Heroes was fine.
I think the Heroes was pretty good. I think the villain was pretty over the top, but I think it was
the villain's backstory was so over the top. I didn't even know what to call him. That was my biggest issue. The villain kind of sucked.
Well, I feel like he's serviceable.
Yeah, he's fine. He's
like, I
the
don't
big
think
bad guy for him to punch.
He's not like you understand as long as you understand his motives and kind of get
fine, but like
that's all that matters.
Kind of what he does is kind of strange.
I mean, I think it's better than Jeff Bridges' character in Iron Man 1.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't believe it's amazing, but I don't believe it's
but I just
terribly
really like
bad.
Him.
You're not meant to. So.
No, like I like the Joker. I like Ego. I like.
I mean, well, you also have to look at least.
I like Thanos.
But you have to also look at he at least did interesting things in the film.
Yeah, there were some cool scenes with the villain, but
like I think he at least did interesting stuff compared to other villains.
Yeah,
I think who'd be like Whiplash from Iron Man 2.
Yeah,
nah, not that interesting at all.
Yeah.
You don't really get him. You get this guy. I feel like this is a character that could be further developed on, maybe in the future.
Yeah,
depending on how they want to set it up.
They were like kind of like hinting throughout the movie that he would be like a bigger part of things,
which I could definitely see. I mean, that's whatever.
What was his name? The Doctor something. Look up his name, so we're not just calling him Doctor something. But yeah, the way they did the original backstory for Doctor or whatever, it was very strange. Like it would kind of imagine like Dr. Savannah. So imagine like Bruce Wayne's parents are going down the alley with him, and then the mugger comes up to Bruce Wayne and his parents, and he's like, "Give me your money." And then Bruce Wayne's dad is like, "No." And then the mugger shoots both of his parents, and then the mugger looks straight at Bruce Wayne and says, "You could have stopped this. You could have done something to stop me." And then it would just like very obviously tell you like what the is this supposed to feel?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like that's not the point of the movie.
Well, yeah, but that scene was I'm talking about the scene specifically.
The scene, yes, but it was also, it's not like the bad guys told him that. It's more that his parents told him that you could have done something different, kind of.
Yeah, no, that's the issue. The way
you were
setting
it up like
less about like what the reasoning is, but the way they presented it was so heavy-handed.
I mean, yeah, he had crap parents, and I guess like you have to just kind of just take that in. Like sometimes it's hard.
They could have just shown the scene and not had the one line where it's like, "This is your fault."
Oh, I know. I'm not saying you
did this.
You had to have that. I'm just saying.
Okay.
I don't believe it's bad or very good. You know, I don't believe it's enough for me to complain, I guess.
Like the backstory, like was interesting for the villain, and then like the thing happens, and he's like, "You're not good," and then he was like, "No," and then like the other thing happens, and the guy's like, "This is your fault." And like, okay, I understand like how this kid is feeling, but like, do you have to? There's like show don't tell, right? But this is tell. Well,
I argue it's the least clever thing in the movie, and honestly, if that's the least clever thing... And that was
the first impression, which was what bugged me.
I mean, if that's the least clever thing in the movie, then that's probably a very good thing, to be honest.
That's the point I'm trying to get across, because it was so ham-fisted.
I get that it was ham-fisted.
It was just like... I was immediately turned off, but then as soon as they get off of this guy and go to Billy Batson is when I start getting interested.
Well, the entire point of the movie is for you to actually get interested in Billy's story.
Well, yeah, but the way they set up the villain is
it's whatever. You're not meant to even care about him. He's meant to be a meat bag.
Yeah, I guess. Him anyhow. But, I don't know. There's ways to do it well enough, so you care about that.
It could also be the fact that he's just not that interesting in the comics to begin with, because I haven't read a Shazam comic.
I don't know.
So
anyway, aside from the kind of arguably garbage opening, they start getting into Shazam. Well, Billy Batson.
Yeah.
The basic gist of the story is that the wizard who gives the powers of Shazam or whatever is looking for a champion, and he wants someone pure of heart. So he sends out his spell. He's like, "Bring me someone pure of heart." And then the first thing you see Billy Batson do is trick a bunch of cops into getting locked inside of a store so he can use their computer.
Yeah.
So I just leaned over to Ben. I was like, "He is pure of heart, committing a felony."
I mean, like at first we were confused on what exactly he was doing, because I just thought he was going to steal the cop car.
Yeah, and go for a joyride. Like, it's explained like why he does that, and it's like, oh, but like I was like, that's an interesting way.
It's weird because it's somewhat justifiable, but not in a kid way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And the kid who plays Billy Batson's all right. Did you like him? I
feel like he did a pretty good job for a first role. Like, I don't believe he's really been in much else.
I don't know. He was fine. The kid who played his kind of best friend brother, Frank.
I think he did a better job.
Yeah, he was excellent.
He was, because I know that type of kid.
And his like chemistry with Shazam, who is Zachary Levi, right?
Yeah.
He was awesome. Like Zachary Levi stole the show, obviously.
Well, it's interesting because
the chemistry with him and Frankie.
Yeah,
Freddie?
I'm pretty sure that's
Freddie.
his name.
Is it Freddie?
It's Freddie.
Yeah, Freddie. Where you know they had some great scenes together.
Yeah, I feel like this movie, like Zachary Levitt's like killed it.
Yeah.
He even got all the correct mannerisms of like what a 14-year-old would have in a weird way.
He wasn't like, I was worried that it would be like too hokey and like, he's a kid in a man's body.
Well,
Give me your finest beer, please. Ha ha.
Well, I was more worried about if it was gonna be more like Big. Have you seen Big?
Yeah.
My only problem with Big, because it is a pretty good movie, is that he plays a kid really younger than what the kid actually looks like.
Yeah.
Like, he acts like a 5-year-old rather than him actually being like...
Yeah, was he like a
12.
teenager or something?
He was like 12.
Almost a teenager.
He was like...
And he's like jumping around and playing with toys. Like...
Which a kid... I wouldn't think a 12-year-old wouldn't do that. It's more like it's not to that extreme.
Yeah. Overacted. But like, yeah, everything he did was like... Yeah, that's what a 14-year-old kid would do.
I think they used actually that entire premise to its maximum point that you would think of without it being too obvious.
They even made some references to Big too, which was funny.
It was a very subtle reference to the point where it's like if you didn't know it, they wouldn't like.
It's not like they were like going through the scene and like, wow, this is just like Big.
Yeah. There's also actually there's a little like Easter egg of Annabelle in there.
Oh yeah, was she in the toy store?
Yeah, no, in the pawn shop.
Oh, funny.
Because if you did not know, this director David Sandberg has had a few movies before this one. Annabelle Creation, which is a god awful movie, and Lights Out, which he himself says jump scare the movie.
Classic.
And I'm kind of blown away that this guy he just went on here, just did his stuff, and then it just is an amazing movie.
When we were initially theorizing about this movie, we're like, who's the director? And we're like, who is this guy? And then we looked at his movies and we're like, oh.
Like,
okay.
I know this guy has to be somewhat good. I know some things about Annabelle Creation where, like, he got... Are you almost done with your mic?
Oh,
your mic is a little...
The creakiest.
Yeah, it's very creak. Maybe they should get some W40 for that.
Yeah.
WV-40. But either way, Annabelle Creation, he kind of got, like, the studio kind of just didn't let him do whatever he wanted, and he was just like, eh. Shazam itself is a movie with a budget of $80 million to $100 million. For anyone who doesn't know, that's very low for any superhero film.
Oh, yeah.
Considering how a normal Spider-Man film is like the Sam Raimi Spider-Man film, like Spider-Man 2 was like $200 million back in 2004.
Oh my God.
So this kind of considers like how low of a budget this is, and he was able to make something that was this good out of it. It's pretty fascinating to me.
Would you say the directing is actually pretty good?
Yeah, I think the directing in the screenplay itself is very good.
Yeah, it was actually pretty well written. It was funny and not like there was the only moment where I was like, was like I said, the flossing moment. But then I was like, It
was 2 seconds.
He's 14 and it's 2 seconds. Like they didn't do anything absurd with it. Like that's what you see in the trailer is the worst part of the movie of like him just doing Fortnite and then it's over.
It's also all those shots are all out of context.
Yeah.
And
and the one kid.
Which one?
The gamer kid.
Oh, the Asian kid.
Yeah, he was like, the first thing you see him do is they bring Billy Bats into his foster house and they're like, hey, we're home, and no one comes to the door, and they look over and see the kid on the laptop, and he's just screaming into a muted headset, die, die, die.
Well, yeah.
And I'm like, oh. And then like the one girl's like, don't worry about him. He's just playing a video game.
Well, granted, they have to. You have to also consider they have to show off all these characters in such a minimal amount of time. And
I know.
Like,
the gamer trope just irks me. Like you could have done that in so many other ways that looked better and were funnier, and it was just
fine.
Like a classic.
You can't. The worst part it was funny in that situation to me. Like
the funniest thing that kid did was I think for whatever reason they have to hack something. Or the kid hacks something.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, how'd you get this information? He's like, well, I played some Watch Dogs. And I was like, oh, that's funny. That's a hacking video game.
That was, well, to be fair, that's a pretty... You would have to know video games to get that.
Yeah, and I
feel like. And that was pretty good.
It wasn't like one of those jokes where it's like, well, I played a hacking video game, and because a hacking video game teaches me how to hack, I know how to hack. It was just like, an actual well-researched and joke.
Yeah, I also... Like, the worst part, I think, of this movie is that you don't have enough storylines with these other people that are in the foster home.
Yeah. There's, one with, the oldest girl.
And even fun. That's so, like...
It's very minimal.
Like, she wants to go to college, and that's basically
And she's like,
that's
I don't know if I want to leave my family, and Billy Batson's like, family sucks.
Well, it's probably the best... I mean, actually, to give better on the themes of this movie, I think it's way better because it's not only a superhero movie.
Yes.
You could say it's a family movie. You could say it's a coming-of-age movie.
Yes.
You could say, like, there's so many things this movie can categorize itself as.
Yeah.
Not only as a superhero movie. That's part of the reason why this movie is getting good reviews, is the fact that it fits so many other molds than just the classic superhero movie.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, I think a lot of people at first glance could see, could say they're copying the Marvel formula, and I would say no.
I guess you could see
I-
that, but like then again, Marvel doesn't have a copyright on just funny
Yeah,
superhero movies.
but I would make an argument no, because some of the stuff in that film is so unique and original to the point where it's only Shazam could have done that, or the film gets dark, so gets pretty dark in certain points where
yeah,
I couldn't even see a Marvel movie even attempting to do that.
yeah,
Sometimes, like one of the major emotional climaxes is probably one of the, like, I couldn't imagine that being in a Marvel film.
yeah.
I couldn't
there
see
were
it.
a lot of like surprising moments. Like, oh,
It was
It
kind of
isn't
like,
that, huh?
there's a horror, like there's kind of like a horror section, like a scene in there, like closer to the, in Spider-Man 2 when the arms come to life and then like
yeah,
they go after all the doctors.
mm-hmm.
It's kind of a scene similar to that in here. That is,
Yeah, there were like the one sequence in
There's-
particular. I was like,
yeah, there's a
holy
lot of darker
crow.
scenes, and this reminds me of like the older kids films that are like a little bit darker than what you're used to. Like
Yeah.
The Goonies. The Goonies is a pretty dark film.
With
if you thought
Thanos.
about it. With Thanos.
Josh Brolin's in that movie.
He is in that movie, but he's
like
the older brother.
It's
He's the older
my
brother.
friend just discovered that,
You didn't know that?
and he was like, "Dude, Thanos is in Goonies." I'm like, "Yeah, it's cool, right?" And then like he said he was gonna draw Thanos as like one of the Goonies.
I'm trying to think who, like, I feel like we haven't had a kids film that was this dark in a while. So there,
It's not to say that like the film is dark and it's a dark film, but
No,
there are
it's
like
not.
dark moments that like set it apart from other ones.
I feel like over the past, I don't know, 10 years or so, we've kids films, like, not saying this is really a kids film, but it's closer to a kids film than
Yeah.
I would say other films are. Like, they were really afraid to do anything that somewhat pushes the line
Yeah.
in any way. Like I would argue the original Sam Raimi movies, those are made for kids, but I feel like
They have a
like
grenade blow
they're
up
pretty-
in Harry's
yeah.
face.
they're pretty dark films.
They show like people get vaporized by the Green Goblin.
Yeah, even though it's pretty that one's pretty cartoony.
Yeah, you
in
see the
particular.
skeletons.
But in the final scene, that's pretty intense.
Yeah, like for the most of these other DC and Marvel movies, like modern, it's like here's Bruce Wayne's parents getting shot, and then we'll quickly cut away from that, and
Yeah.
put you in a joke, and then never talk about that again.
And it does delve deep into actual issues that people
Yeah.
would have, and I think it's quite interesting.
And I think it like portrays the orphaned boy trope like the best.
Yeah,
So far.
I would say better than most Batman films currently have done, because I don't believe a lot of them have
They
delved
don't really
deep into the.
establish like what it's like for him to live as an orphan.
It's hard to delve
They're like,
deep
he
into
was
that.
orphaned as a kid, and Alfred raised him.
I mean,
Cool.
yeah, a lot of it's like him as Batman, but then there's a lot of even in the animated show, they go into his orphan life,
Yeah.
and how like he deals with it. Like in the animated movie in particular, like there's scenes of Batman like crying on his mother's grave and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like in an animated film they have that, but in none of these newer, edgier films they can have that.
Yeah, it was interesting to see the actual dynamic and tone
Mhm.
change.
I wonder how the Zack Schneider fans feel
the
about this film.
Schneiderverse, dude.
I released the Schneider cut. I don't know.
It'll be interesting to see what comes next from DC because, like we said, this is like the first real good step from them,
Uh-huh.
and like it's strange because it just kind of came out of nowhere with this kind of side character that nobody really talks about in the mainstream of like just
Mhm.
basic superhero knowledge, and it just kind of worked.
Yeah.
Like I was blown away last week that it was doing well on Rotten Tomatoes, and like
Mhm.
now it's I get it. Like
Yeah.
it's definitely earned that.
Um,
Definitely the best DC movie to come out in the
Mhm.
past few years. Like better than Batman v Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman,
I would say better
Um,
than most Marvel films in general, even.
Marvel too.
There's a lot of, like, I would argue I would rather watch this than some of the Marvel films. Way
Like,
better than
which
Captain
ones?
Marvel. Way better than.
Oh yeah, Captain Marvel is
I would rather
a
watch this
dropped
than something like
pebble in a pond.
I like Doctor Strange, but I would rather watch this than Doctor Strange. I have an emotional attachment to Billy Batson compared to Doctor Strange.
Yeah, I just like Doctor Strange more.
I like Doctor Strange in general.
I like Benedict Cumberbatch's performance.
I just feel like
this one's definitely more lighthearted though, and more fun, despite having the darker tones. And whereas like some of these other Marvel movies, it's kind of a comedy, but like this one's a full blown comedy.
Yeah, but it wasn't afraid to be serious. Where
and when it needed to have the dark moments, it did. But
I feel like Marvel's afraid to
Marvel
even get
like
serious.
For Doctor Strange, for example, it's like he's a cocky doctor and he crashed his car, and that was very scary for him.
You can
and
make
now he is no longer in the hospital. He is trying to heal, but he can't. So then we will joke about the multiverse, joke about this, joke about that, and then this guy will come in and do a thing, and I don't know.
I mean, to be fair, in all intents and purposes, it's close enough to Iron Man, like in its structure and its character, that I'm like, Billy Batson and his unique premise is a breath of fresh air in any superhero sense.
Yeah, I get that.
I feel like, I love Infinity War. Like, obviously, it can't be as good as it could be, but there's no way it can be due to the fact of how different of a film that is.
Yeah.
I feel like, and I mean, like, look at
kind
other
of like how I
film.
would prefer to see Venom over the other Captain Marvel again.
Yeah, there's also
despite one being better.
Well,
it was like one can probably be far more entertaining.
I think entertaining means more than to me. To me, it does.
In this case, at least.
I feel like this film is far more entertaining, and I actually like Shazam more than I like other superheroes. Like, if Falcon got his I don't like Falcon as much as I like from just in general, like as a side character, I don't like him as much. I don't like Black Panther as much as I like Shazam.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of things that I'm like, I would rather watch Shazam over.
Yeah, I get that.
And not only for the funny times, it's a better made film.
Yeah, I got you. I want to go back to the themes because
you want to go? Okay.
The theme is kind of like the classic orphan boy doesn't want to settle down anywhere, wants his real parents, and is constantly running off and trying to find them. And like the way that don't want to call it a trope, but it is a trope.
I don't think I guess it is a trope, but it hasn't been played up in a long time.
Yeah.
So it feels refreshing.
But the thing that refreshed me about it was like how it was resolved.
Oh yeah, I see.
Because it had this very interesting this is what happened, and I was like, oh. Yeah, in any other movie, you wouldn't find the parents. Yeah, they'd either be dead
or
they'd be like,
they want you back.
They are welcoming back in warm arms.
Or it's like Stuart Little, where they were paid off.
Yeah,
to be his parents.
Just something stupid, but like this one just was like, yeah, this is a good way to have that done.
I'm like, oh, that is extremely realistic. It makes sense, and
yeah, I wasn't expecting that, and then
it's really sad.
That's what gives him the drive to move on and just become part of this like new family that he's been resisting. And I was like, yeah, that's a very good way to have that happen, and I wasn't expecting that. It was kind of smart.
Yeah, I feel like it is one of the clever sections of the film. I feel like they use it in there's a lot of scenes where it's like, yeah, I get he uses his powers to gain money.
Yeah, that was funny. He goes to an ATM and shocks it, and then he immediately regrets his decision as money starts flying everywhere and people start looking over.
But it's also the fact that a real kid would do that.
Exactly.
A real person would use it for self-gain. Probably first. I mean,
yeah, he was performing in the streets with a suitcase.
Look at the original Spider-Man. It's literally what he did. He went in wrestling and tried
3 minutes of playtime.
Yeah, a lot of people compare this to.
Yeah, didn't you say this was the first superhero movie to encapsulate the same feeling of the Raimiverse?
I really do think so. It has one of the similar plot structure. It has a lot of similar feel.
Yeah.
It is corny in a good way.
Yeah, it wasn't so tired and cheesy to where I was like, oh my god! For me, there's this one not a musical, but a show, play. Mm-hmm. It's called Almost Maine.
Oh yeah, I know.
We did it on campus.
Yeah,
I didn't see it, but we did it in my high school too. It's a rom-com of like 9 not intersecting, but 9 love stories that take place in the same town.
Yeah.
And every one is just wicked cheesy, and it just makes me want to bang my head against the wall because it's so stupid and not clever, even though it thinks it is. Like, it's so obvious in its metaphors, and it just makes me sad to sit there and watch it. But like this one is like, yeah, this is kind of it's been done before, kind of.
Well,
and you'd expect it. Well, not
really.
been done before, but like it's kind of cheesy, like what's happening.
Yeah.
But it knows that, and it like plays it up, and it's like fun.
Well, the best part is that the people who are making it knows it's cheesy, but everything within a worse movie would probably play it up that the movie knows it's cheesy as well.
Yeah.
But this plays it that all the stakes are real.
Exactly.
Like, which it also helps the premise. It also helps the villain. It helps everything
seem
more realistic.
It all works.
It all works, and that's better than most superhero movies I can say nowadays.
I wasn't like sitting there questioning things that happened afterwards. I was like, yeah, that made sense. I think like in the car I had like a few questions, but like I resolved them in my head or something like later.
What do you mean in particular? Like,
I don't know. I remember.
Okay, I don't know what car.
On the car way back.
Oh,
on the drive back.
Oh, when they were just like. When the foster parents were just like, we're wacky. We put our hands in the middle of the table.
Yeah.
I mean, they needed 3 minutes of characterization. That's all. Like, they needed to pound that into you, that they're nice people.
But like we said, it works, and it wasn't like...
I think I do have a few issues with the movie.
Yeah.
The kids, they seem like movie kids.
Yeah.
I kind of wish they were more like actual kids. Like, because I feel like we've been getting better with that in movies, like even in It in particular, like those feel like real kids.
Yeah,
they talk over each other. Goonies, they feel like real kids. They talk over each other. They swear. There's quite a few swears that the kids say in this.
There are.
Yeah, like not like a ton, but it's enough where they swear like a little bit.
I don't know.
I don't think I noticed.
The youngest girl was kind of annoying for me sometimes, but like she wasn't like overdone.
Well, I feel like that's how she would be in real life.
Yeah, so that made like she was.
She would be
meant
annoying.
To be like the talkative, very clingy little sister, but she was fine. I was worried she'd get on my nerves. I was like, oh, this is like that one character in that every other movie.
Yeah,
but like she was okay, and then there was like some good payoff to that too.
Yeah,
and it wasn't
overdone.
There was like one kid who was a mute.
Yeah,
and
that was the only thing I wish they characterized him a little bit better, because then he just started talking.
Yeah, and then like during they do like that one moment where like everyone's silent except the mute says something. I'm like, okay, didn't see that coming.
Well, it's whatever. I mean that's part of the reason why I feel like all the kids were underdeveloped.
Yeah,
and I mean for good or bad, I don't know. It's hard to say. Like if there was another like 15 minutes to the film, yeah, you could characterize them, but. Like I almost felt like there was like a chunk was the Hispanic kid taken out, like the bigger kid, the mute or whatever, like where it's like everyone makes fun of me, I'm fat, and like he's sad because of that or something. I don't know. Like that's what I felt like that's what they would have done. Even like one-dimensional characters like the bullies. There's bullies in this that are pretty one-dimensional.
Yeah,
but they work. You know what they're not questioning like, oh, what's their motivation? It's just like, no, they're just bullies.
Yeah, it was kind of like the Flash Thompson in the Spider-Man movies.
Yeah,
where it's like, yeah, he's there, but like it wasn't stupid.
They hit a crippled kid with a car.
Yeah,
with a truck. Yeah, it was pretty.
Like, oh.
I didn't like picture really what happened until like I thought about it, and I was like, man, you hit him with a truck.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of anything else. Oh yeah, the Shazam 2 has already been confirmed for the development. Which
yes, I think it's obvious at this point.
Black Adam. Is supposedly going to be continuing with The Rock.
I think it's more positive. I think it's more obvious that Black Adam's probably going to come out since this did so well. What's the next DC movie? I think it's Wonder Woman, 1984.
1987 or whatever.
It's 1980. I thought it was 1984, but could be 87. I think that's the next one. Let me look. But yeah, I don't know what's really upcoming for DC at this point in terms of movies. Oh, Joker.
Oh yeah, you want to talk about that?
We can talk about it for a
Let's
few
wrap
minutes.
this up and we can
Just
talk
yeah,
about it.
let's wrap this up.
But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what comes next from DC because this is like we said, the first step in the right direction for them.
I see this as hopefully a better step in the future for them. I could see this either being a one-trick pony or being something great.
Yeah, hopefully it's not just the one and done from the DC.
Like, I kind of look at this and I'm very hopeful because I view this movie as Spider-Man 1 level of pretty good. Like, I would rather, like, I think this movie is better than Spider-Man 1 in certain ways.
Yeah, I could say that.
But if the sequel can be as good as Spider-Man 2, that's where you would get me, you know?
Yeah, so what would you rate it out of 10?
It's definitely an 8.
An 8? I'd probably do a 7 or 8 too.
It's definitely something you need to see in theaters, I think.
I mean, I wouldn't say you'd need to like rush and see it, but if you definitely, if it sounds interesting to you, if you'd like another good superhero movie, if you know anything about Shazam,
as something
if you have
before,
$9 to spend, go see it for sure.
I feel like Shazam is worth seeing at least once.
Yeah, definitely check it out.
Also, if you're just,
but you don't have to rush to see it.
If you're just a weirdo, if you're a weirdo man, just don't go by yourself. Have someone to go, like a buddy to see it with, because it's definitely like a littler kid's film.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a weird guy chuckling constantly.
Oh yeah, some guy that sat
yeah.
behind me. Every joke, like even if they weren't that funny, it would be like, why'd the turtle cross the road? Because he's slow. And then like in the distance, he'd be like, ha, funny.
The guy was literally right behind you,
like just right behind me the whole time.
I was like, I was like, it's a good chuckle, but I wouldn't like die.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Like Shazam would like get punched across the room and he'd land in a pile of skeletons and he'd be like, I guess I'm pretty boned. And the guy would be like, ha!
Yeah,
it was just
that was really
irritating. Hopefully I didn't peak any mics, but like
you did pretty well. You screamed at the floor.
Yeah.
The room's pretty well.
Yeah, definitely check it out if you can. Let's
that
move
one guy
on.
liked it.
Another DC movie coming out in October.
Yes, October 4th.
Is the Joker movie.
Which would be a good Halloween movie to see. I could see how it's playing up.
So, this is the first real
solo
stab at a Joker movie.
A solo Joker movie.
A first real stab at the Joker, I would say, in a while, because I don't count Jared Leto's pile of garbage.
Oh, yeah.
Squad.
I mean, like, the last really good one would have been
Heath Ledger.
Obviously, Heath Ledger.
And even then, Mark Hamill's animated appearances.
Yeah, you have to consider those.
But, yeah, it's going to be weird, because this is a standalone Joker film, and I don't know if Batman's been established yet in this, and I don't even know if it'd be Ben Affleck, or, like,
I almost think they're all out.
I think everyone's done.
There's a reason why we didn't see Cavill in Shazam.
Yeah, but anyway, like Joaquin Phoenix, he seems to like do well from what I saw. The trailer came out and it looks interesting, and it wasn't like the standard horror thriller movie where it's like, here's the line of dialogue from the film, single piano tone. Here's another line of dialogue from the film, single piano tone.
It's
music's getting faster now. Piano tone. What do you mean he's escaped? Ding. He's coming now? Ding. Quick, barricade the doors. Ding. Here's Johnny.
Okay.
Ding.
Well, okay, my look at this entire movie is basically it's the Killing Joke, but only the Joker section. Yeah,
so the Killing Joke is kind of like the comic that established the Joker's backstory,
which was very alluded to barely.
Since then, like, he's only made very small reference to it, and even now, like, with that Joker backstory, we still don't know much about him. Like, that's kind of part of his character, is that we don't know what drove him to this. The closest thing we have to like an actual identity for him is like, I think in one of the comics, Joker's cousin was in town, and he was about to call him his real name, and it starts with a J, and then it cut off because he like punched him in the face or something. But Yeah, so The Killing Joke there was a comic adaptation, which was excellent, and then there was an
Uh-huh.
animated film, which was less than excellent.
I still think it's a good.
It was fine,
You
but it
can't
did
tell
some
me it's
weird stuff
bad.
with Batgirl, and it was like, why?
That happens in the comics. I'm pretty sure, right?
No, well, it also establishes part of Batgirl / Oracle, but like what they did in the animated film, they took
I
some
know.
liberties with it, and they did some stuff with like her and Batman, and it was like, this is just not.
It's a little off, and I don't
Yeah.
know why they did that. I know why, but I don't. Yeah.
Anyway, The Killing Joke, the basic gist of the story is that Joker was a struggling comedian. His wife was pregnant, and he was just kind of in the wrong place at the wrong time and was offered a job as with a bunch of thugs. At the time, the Red Hood, who becomes his standalone hero, the Red Hood was just kind of a nickname given to a mask that villains would wear. They would constantly just pass around this red dome helmet mask, and that way, once they complete the job, they'd give it to someone else. So that it's like one person, quote unquote, committing all these crimes.
Yeah.
But it's not. So they wanted him to be the guy wearing the mask for this job. So he reluctantly took it because he kind of was out of options, and I think I don't know what exactly happened. I think he took it because either his wife died from like a miscarriage, or like
It was something.
he took the job, then his wife died, but somehow his wife died and with the pregnant.
Was this
while
like
she's
from the
pregnant.
trailer? Or
No, this is just the story.
the story. Okay, I was making
Of the
sure because it's like
Joker.
I didn't see this.
This
in
is
the
the
trailer.
story of the Joker.
Okay.
And then while he's on this job, Batman goes to stop who he thinks is the Red Hood, like the guy who's been committing all these crimes.
Yeah.
And Joker falls in like the Acme vat of chemicals at Ace Chemicals, and it like turns his skin white and his hair green, and his lips red, and he like goes hysterical because of like the poisoning of his mind, and like the line he kept repeating in the thing was just like, one bad day can make a man go crazy or something like that. So it'll be interesting to see how they do all of that, because it's very complex in the way it's told, and I just gave you a very cruddy TLDR.
I almost feel like it's gonna be a mental break closer to like rather than something.
Is this gonna be R-rated?
I'm pretty confident.
I hope it is, because that way they'd be able to get really.
Let me look if this is, because it's not saying on here it will be R-rated or not.
But yeah, that's kind of the basic TLDR of the Joker's backstory. And like I said, we don't know much about him like otherwise. That's the very, very basics, believe it or not, and we don't have a like name or I don't know more to his story.
Movie rating.
Anyway. They did an animated special, like we said. It was questionable. And then, since they did Suicide Squad with Jared Leto, which is a big misstep, and now we're kind of left with this. The only good performance of the Joker, really.
It's not rated yet.
No boy.
So, I mean, I don't know what they're trying to do.
We'll see what happens.
I think rated R would just be fun to play with.
Yeah. So the only real good Joker performance we've seen was the Heath Ledger one, I'd say.
I would argue, like, I know it's
some
not.
of the classic ones with like Jack Nicholson.
I think the Jack Nicholson
like
one.
that one's kind of weird but fine.
Well,
like
it's
the TV show with Adam West was weird.
But
those are different, like Bronze Age.
The issue
stuff,
is like
right?
those are all good adaptations of the Joker in the sense that they're like the goofy era of Batman.
Like is that Bronze Age or Gold Age or?
It's golden. It's probably more golden. Yeah, golden's like the World War II era.
But yeah, so the only like real serious Joker performance, like you can't really count the Jack Nicholson one because that one's kind of
I think
wacky.
It's a little hokey, but I think it's fun.
If there's a parade with Prince music where he's throwing money
It's
everywhere,
a little hokey.
We're just kind of left with Heath Ledger, and that was in like 2012, right?
I think it might have been before that. But
I don't know.
I think that's been a while.
Years.
It's been a while.
Solid one.
Yeah.
And the only place you could really go to for like a solid Joker performance like that was in the animated specials with Mark Hamill, or of course the comics. But we've just kind of been left with this like thirst of like a good Joker, and this one might actually be it. Like from the trailer, it looks very interesting. Like we'll delve into the Joker's backstory and like get serious with it. and he might actually do some crazy things. And
I mean,
it'd be cool
this
to
looks
see how
like
they
an Oscar
establish
bait
him.
film.
What do you mean Oscar bait?
Some like there's like for someone who's seen Oscar films and how they particularly work, it's like the ones that usually win a lot of Oscars are films where like main actors go over like a physical physical change.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Like obviously that's being shown in the trailer, like a deep psychological nature's change.
Yeah.
Like a lot of this is classic like Oscar winning stuff.
Yeah.
Not saying it's like a bad thing that a Joker movie's trying to do this. It's kind of odd to see from a superhero movie.
Yeah.
A more Oscar going after movie.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how this ties into the DC EU extended universe.
I think they stopped that. I think they're not doing...
The Snyderverse is dead?
I think, well, that version... I think they don't want to... They don't want to be associated with something like that. They want to be like...
This might just
DC
be a standalone,
universe.
maybe.
I think
we'll see.
Technically going to be. I feel like they might just sweep under the rug all the other stuff and like retcon it.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Trailer looks fine. October release date. We'll definitely check it out.
I think it'll be. I don't know. I can't name you any other scary films that are going to come out in October that are going to be pretty good right now. So
I wouldn't see them anyway.
Well, I mean, you might like some scary.
Do you want to talk about Us?
I mean,
I can't say.
I don't know. How much do you really want me to say? I mean, I like it.
I don't know if you want to bring it up. I don't think we.
I mean, how much?
Did we talk about it?
No, we kind of just glazed over it, but I don't think there's. I mean, if you haven't seen the film,
like a 2-minute review of it. Say what you thought.
I might as well. I saw it like 2 weeks ago.
Because the only reason why I bring it up is because we're talking about scary movies, and this is kind of a scary topic.
A little scary movie.
Well, it's a horror movie.
We don't know that.
By Jordan Peele.
Well, I thought you meant Joker.
No, not. You said scary movie.
It is. I thought this could be a scary movie.
Would you like to talk about Us, or should we not?
Well, I can talk about Us.
All right, just give a quick rundown.
A great movie. I think everyone should see it. I like it better than Get Out because its social message is way less on the nose. Mm-hmm. It's more about classes and classes in society, and I think that's much more interesting to me. That's just personal. There's some racial issues you could say in the film, but I argue that's just Jordan Peele and that's just how he writes.
Yeah.
There's it feels like a Twilight Zone episode, which pretty much fits with the fact that he's hosting the new one. The twist at the end, some people were shocked. I called it halfway through the film.
Yeah, that's the running thing I've seen.
Did most people call it?
Yeah, from the reviews
I don't think it was
seen by like my YouTube guys.
But I don't really But I don't really think it's a bad twist.
It's not a bad twist, but it wasn't a very subtle.
Well, I don't think it wasn't. It's not that it wasn't subtle. It was more the fact that it's like you could call it right away, like not right away, but like in the film. But it's not in a sense where it would be over distracting to you. Yeah, I feel like some people really like the twist. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, it's hard for me to say it's a bad twist. Okay. In any way, and some people, I'm after like remowing it over in my head, I feel like a rewatch wouldn't be too bad. Mm-hmm. Like I would watch it probably again. It's a very good film. If you want to see a horror film, it's probably the most like artsy kind of film and better story pace than we had in the last 10 years. Yeah. Like other than Get Out, obviously. Yeah. Because we're finally getting better stories in horror again ever since like in the more mainstream appeal, because we always had good stories in horror films, but they never got mainstream appeal like Jordan Peele's movies have been getting in the past. Like, I don't know, like the last big ones that were like somewhat interesting is like Candyman from the 90s, and that was pretty interesting, and it's a good film. Apparently Jordan Peele's doing the remake of that. Oh yeah? Yeah. Cool. Candyman should be interesting.
So what would you rate Us out of 10?
Definitely an 8 out of 10. Interesting. I find it very interesting, but it's not my favorite film of all time. I think he balances comedy and horror very well. Yeah. A lot better than I would ever like think a film could ever do it. Mm-hmm. I also I was kind of creeped out at first, like because obviously that's what it's intended to do. But then, of course, over halfway through the film, I feel like its creep factor is kind of gone. Oh yeah. I kind of wish he had more in there. Even though it was still thriller, like it was still intense. It just wasn't to what I think it should have been. But that's a quick little rundown.
What else did we do? Anything else over the weekend that we wanted to discuss?
Not offhand. Next week Hellboy.
I did want to comment briefly about what's to come.
Oh, okay.
You were about to say Hellboy when I cut you off.
Okay.
But we are looking into watching the first 2 Hellboy movies sometime soon, and then watching the new one in theaters, which comes out
this Friday.
Friday. Oh.
Yeah, it's soon. It's like I almost think if we wanted to, we could do it next time if we really wanted to.
Well, we'll see. We're gonna look into watching both of the originals and then the new one. I saw Anything Goes over the weekend. If you're on campus and listening to it, definitely check it out. It's a very solid show. Great performances, great dancing, whatever. Mm-hmm. Because that is also coming to a close, just this weekend and then they're done.
Yes.
We'll be able to have our good buddy Jay on the show to talk about his Dungeons and Dragons experiences along with ours, because we've been doing a campaign for a few months now, and we figured it'd be a fun episode.
We're at least 30 hours into a campaign.
Wow.
Like, we have to be.
Yeah.
You know?
It's just sad to think about. Anyway.
Well,
yeah, so that's what's to come. As also, at the end of the month is obviously Endgame. Do you buy a ticket yet, or you're not going to do one in advance?
I don't know. When it gets closer, I might.
Okay. Anyway, I will definitely be seeing it.
I will be seeing it.
Hopefully he'll be able to get in with me.
I feel like I'll just sneak in and I'll be like, I'm here. I'll stand in the back.
That sounds comfortable for 3 hours.
I will be enthralled by the movie. I feel like it won't matter.
Right. That's
you know
your
what
decision,
I mean?
Bud.
I mean, to be fair, those seats in the Chautauqua Theater, in the Dipson Theater out in Jamestown, good. There was good seats.
Yeah, it was nice.
Good seats. I wish we had those here. I miss my local movie theater.
Yeah. So,
anything else you want to go over before? We have like 7 more minutes if you want to go.
No, I don't think I have anything else.
Nothing else? We can end early.
I kind of want to go and shower and maybe go to bed,
actually. I might go to bed too. I'm pretty tired.
We're not doing anything. Well, you have your night shift.
I do, around like 3:30.
Classic.
That's how I edit these episodes.
We're going to try to do another D&D episode tonight, but session.
What other people?
Everyone's busy.
I was going to say, I think everyone's
Our monk
busy.
has homework to do, and our wizard rogue has an 8 a.m., so sad life.
I didn't mind doing it, but if I didn't have the 3:30 thing.
What if I helped you?
That's not a helping job. You just sit there
and just keep you awake.
It's called I'll be sad because I have to do work I have a lot more work to do.
Well, what do you have to do at 3 a.m? Work?
No, like I have to do work after that. Like up until noon at least.
Well, we'll figure this out.
Keep
tuning into the show.
I have a lot more work to do.
We'll be back next Tuesday with something.